A very warm welcome, friends, from all over the world. Welcome to Flourishing Academy. I'm Aumrie here in Los Angeles, and it is a pleasure to be here with you. It is a pleasure to be able to hold space with you. It is a pleasure to be able to share in this moment with you. And a very special thank you to all of our Cognoscenti. These are the generous supporters who contribute and make our work possible, who enable us to fulfill our mission of sharing this wonderful teaching of wisdom and compassion, of mindfulness with the world. And so today I have a very special message. It'll offer some clarity for those of you who are seeking clarity on the intersection of money and wealth and mindfulness and contemplative practice. I know that there's a new age or spiritual belief that somehow that in being poor is where there is just this tremendous awakening. Well, mindfulness doesn't say that for lay people. As a matter of fact, it says that it wants to show average, everyday working people how to preserve their wealth, how to grow their wealth, how to secure their wealth. And so we want to talk today about, one, inviting wealth into your life, but also two, seeing how it could also lead to destruction if you are unwise or if you crave or lust after it, how it can ensnare you, how it can ensnare your mind and help you lose focus. It can help you move off of being engaged with your core values. And so it's important to have a right view of wealth. It's important to have a right view of money. It's important to have a right view of income because it enables you, one, those things enables you to provide for yourself. It enables you to provide for your family and provide for your community, but it also enables you to engage in deeper development. But it's not to say that whether you are in a penthouse or you are in the projects that one is better than the other, but it says that it is, if you reach sufficiency and you're able to have a roof over your head and you're able to be able to pay your light bills and you're able to go on vacations, then these are things that enable you not to focus so much on clinging to trying to get it. So we want to offer some clarity on wealth today and income today in terms of mindfulness. And so I just want to offer this. If you are on this mindful journey, it is not by accident that you are here. It's not circumstance. It's not random. You are being called towards this path of awakening your heart and awakening your mind towards liberation, towards freedom, towards ease, towards compassion, towards kindness, towards love, towards empathy. All of these beautiful gifts of the Dharma. You're being called towards it because it resonates as true within your own heart. And whether you have your own faith tradition, which you were raised in and you're still hold, mindfulness isn't here to tell you what to believe or who to believe in. It is simply here to create the container so that you do take that deep dive within. It's here to invite you to begin to check in with your inner life. That it says that there is value in bearing witness to what's taking place within yourself, within your own emotions, and within your own mental states, because these are the areas that drive the decisions that we make. They impact so many areas of our lives. And so if you take the time to slow down and to bear witness to what's taking place on the inside, then you'll bring balance to your life. You'll bring harmony to your life. You'll invite wealth into your life, and you'll make it so that the wealth is sustainable, so that you're not doing some Madoff thing and trying to get it based on greed. So you're not trying to crave and doing something illicit in order to do it, so that you're not doing something that's morally bankrupt that will lead to harm and suffering towards others or to yourself. You're going to do it in a way that's not trying to oppress someone. You're trying to uplift. You're trying to build wealth that helps to empower. You're trying to build income that helps to secure a future for generations to come. And so I want to take a moment before we go into the message to invite you into this space to prepare our practice. And we do that traditionally through song. And this song, listen, I'm going to be 100% upfront with you. I'm going to be honest with you. I am not a singer. I can't carry a note. I can't carry a tune. It is not my gifting. But I do it nonetheless and invite you to join in with me, even if it's just a little murmur, even if you're just humming along, because it helps to bring us into this space of practice. It helps bring us into this contemplative space, and it helps bind us to this community all over the world, all of us singing this beautiful, beautiful song, simple song. The words today are, may you live fully and go within, right? That's the invitation today. Not only that you release some stress in your life, not only that you release some frustration in your life, not only that you find a little bit of sleep within your life. Yes, those are things that we want to see out of mindfulness, but you're called towards something greater, to something more. And so the invitation is that you live fully and go within, right? The Greek said that you are called towards a virtuous life. That is the path that mindfulness invites you down, towards a virtuous life, towards virtue, towards excellence in your moral sense, towards high standards within your ethical framework. You're called towards this. And so the invitation is to slow down and to pay attention and to see what's there. So, as we come into our practice, simply slowing down and paying attention to what is present. This is your moment to take a deep dive within, to bear witness to your life. May you live fully and go within. So beautiful. May you live fully and go within. Nicely done. May you live fully and go within. I know everything may not be going according to plan in your life. You may have experienced some setbacks, but may you live fully and go within. There may be some dysfunction within your home life. There may be some dysfunction within your career, but may you live fully and go within. You may have fallen off the wagon. You said you were going to accomplish a goal. You said you were going to complete it, but somehow you did not manage to make it. May you live fully and go within. There is a reservoir of strength and power within you, and with a single breath you can access it. May you live fully and go within. Sing it, sing it, sing it. May you live fully and go within. Slowing down long enough to pay attention. May you live fully and go within. There's something of beauty inside you. There's something of joy and grace and ease inside of you. Can you access it in this moment? May you live fully and go within. Nicely done. Simply hold a space for this moment as we prepare to transition into our message. Know this, that you are more than capable, that you have value, and that you have worth. I invite you to maintain the continuity of this message, of this feeling, as we transition into the teaching. Oh, that was nice. Nicely done, friends. Nicely done. And so we're going to start with the Dharma. This is the origin teaching of mindfulness. This is what mindfulness is based upon. It's what it's rooted in. And I know a lot of people like to just say, oh, mindfulness is about the breath, and you just breathe in, right? And you breathe out, and you just like make it nice and simple. But mindfulness is rooted within an ethical framework. It is rooted within a tradition that gives us a foundation, an ethical foundation on how to live. And if we adopt and inhabit this ethical foundation, then it brings so much beauty and so much value and so much meaning to our lives. And today, I want to talk to you about wealth. And so, we can't talk about wealth without first talking about craving, because wealth, like many things, it can be a craving, right? It can be a deeply held desire that many of you have, that many of us have, that I have to deal with sometimes. But the thing is that when you see that it's a craving, you can see that it can lead to unskillful means in order to obtain it, that it can lead to you extending a level of harm, that it can lead to you extending a level of being unscrupulous or being coercive in order to obtain it. You know, I watched this show, it's called American Greed, and there are all these examples of individuals who are so attached to wanting it, to having wealth, to getting money in their life, that they engage in unscrupulous tactics in order to get it. They deceive people. They lie about it. They murder for it. They do all types of harmful actions in order to bring money into their lives because they are obsessed with it. And so the thing isn't that it's the wealth that is bad, that it is the money that is bad, that it is the bond that is bad, that it's the real estate that is bad, that it's the car that is bad. It's the craving that is associated with it. It is the lust of it, because the craving, the lust, just this grasping for it, these are the things that cause you to do unskillful things in order to obtain it, right? You want the car, you want that, you wanted that car, you wanted that BMW for so long, right? You dream about it. You've seen all the commercials about it. You imagine getting one for Christmas with the bow on top of it, and you're like, I'm going to make it happen. I am truly going to make it happen this time. And I don't care how I go about doing it. So you go out and maybe you begin to lie a little bit. Maybe you forge some documents a little bit. Maybe you try to steal something in order to get it, in order to acquire the down payment for it, right? Maybe you do any sort of thing that helps you to get it, but it doesn't help you to grow, right? As mindful individuals, we're called towards this virtuous life, not a life of perfection, not a life where we are above everything, no, but a life where we are endeavoring with diligence to have high ethical character, right? High moral standards, moral excellence. This is the road that we're called down. And this isn't to say that, that you can't be ethical and have a bankruptcy, or because you can. You can be ethical and go through a foreclosure. You can be ethical and go through a repossession, right? This happens. It is a part of life. The question is that what is your mind obsessing over? What is it craving? What is it grasping for? And what are you doing in order to bring those cravings and those graspings into balance? And so I want to read to you from the Dharma, the Sutra. It says this about wealth. It says, wealth destroys those who lack in wisdom, but not those who seek the beyond. Craving wealth, like those lacking wisdom, destroys themselves as well as others. Wealth destroys those who lack in wisdom, but not those who seek the beyond. Craving wealth, those lacking wisdom destroy themselves as well as others. I was just watching this episode of American Greed where there was a hard money lender. He lended this money to someone who was trying to flip houses in Arizona. And he lended so much money to this house flipper who said that he was going out and buying these properties, but really he was stealing the money. He wasn't buying property. And this hard money lender, he got all this money from all his investors and all his family. He just kept lending and kept lending and kept lending, right? And he did not go through the proper protocols, right? The proper checks in order to ensure that the investments were sound. He just saw that he trusted in the person that he said that they were getting the properties. He didn't do the proper due diligence. And anyway, he kept lending, and he ended up lending over $30 million to this investor. And it was all gone, right? The investor who was flipping houses, he filed for bankruptcy, tried to wipe out all the debt. The hard money lender ended up committing suicide. He took his own life because of the debt that he had lent out, all that money. And this is what happens sometimes, is that we get so attached to, oh, this is a golden opportunity. I can't miss this opportunity. Everybody has to get in on this opportunity, right? I just have to get everybody in on it. Right? And all this craving, right? There's so much money that's coming in. There's such a pot of gold at the end of this road. I just have to get everybody in. And right, and there's this craving for it. There's this lust of it, right? There's this grasping for it that he led his investors to harm, right? He was sending out bank statements that were saying, oh, your investment is growing, but it wasn't, right? And he felt this tremendous guilt that all their money was lost. All that money. And I talked to some of the investors who invested with him, and they said, oh, it's heartbreaking, right? Some people lost their life savings, and it was very hard. And the initial investor who was flipping houses in Arizona, he ended up going to jail, right? He stole all that money. He didn't do what he was saying that he would do with the money. He was using it to live a lavish lifestyle, right? And so he was not showing wisdom, right? He was supposed to be using that money to acquire houses in order to flip them, in order to sell them, in order to make profit for his investors. And based on the economy, he probably could have. If he would have just not been so greedy, he could have made a profit on selling those houses. Right? But he wanted more. It just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough that he could make a profit. It wasn't enough that he could make a living. It wasn't enough that he was doing well. It wasn't enough that he was on a reality TV show. He wanted more. The craving consumed him. It became an obsession. And what is it like when you have something that you are just so determined to get, that it becomes an obsession that consumes you? It consumes your mind, it consumes your heart, and it can lead to destruction. Because he didn't care about the investors, he didn't care about the hard money lenders, he didn't care about all the people that he was stealing from. As a matter of fact, he felt entitled to the money, right? He would lie and he would deceive and he would con. He didn't care, because all he cared about was himself. And that's what the Dharma says. It says that wealth destroys those who lack in wisdom. The house flipper, he's in jail, serving out a 17-year sentence because wealth destroys those who lack in wisdom. He did not have wisdom. We all heard the example of Bernie Madoff. He deceived people for decades, saying that they were earning all this money. Madoff lacked in wisdom, right? The wealth destroyed families. It destroyed him. It destroyed his reputation. It destroyed his business because he lacked in wisdom. But it says But not those who seek the beyond, right? Not those who seek the beyond. This teaching is the beyond. The Dharma is this beyond. Living a virtuous life is a beyond. Living with high ethical standards, with high moral standards. This is the beyond. Those who seek in that beyond, who seek in deepening their connection to their core values, are not destroyed. Because they are endowed with wisdom. They are seeking that wisdom, right? They're coming into alignment. They're bringing their life into alignment with that wisdom, with that depth of being, right? When you bring your life into alignment with your core values, it enables you to see your humanity and the humanity within others and say, you know what? I have a limit. Yes, I want that new boat. Yes, I want that new car. Yes, I want that new house, but I'm not willing to harm others in order to get it. I'm not going to be deceitful in order to get it. I'm not going to lie and connive my way into it, right? I'm not going to forge documents. I'm going to do it in an ethical manner. And some of you right now are in your own business dilemmas, right? You're in your business. You said, you know what, if I just cut a corner here, if I just buy a cheaper product here, nobody will know. I could just slip it in. I can pad the bill a little bit with a few more hours. They'll never know. Right? And you said, other people are doing it. I'm seeing them getting away with it. Why can't I do it? I deserve it more. Why does old Bob get to do it? Bob's been doing this. He's been cheating for all these years and he's never got caught. Why shouldn't I be able to do it? He's always getting the bonuses. Why couldn't I? Look at Sally. Sally's always doing what she does in order to get ahead and never gets blamed. But she's being deceitful. Why can't I do it? I should be able to get by peace, right? And there's this bitterness that arises out of it, right? There's this sense of frustration that arises out of it, that you see all these people getting ahead and you know that they're cheating. You know that they're doing something nefarious. You know that they are getting away with something and you're like, oh, why shouldn't I be able to do that too? And as mindful people, you are called towards this path of virtue. That's why. You're called towards this path of being diligent. You're called towards this path of self-regulation. You're called towards this path of self-mastery. You're called toward this path of moderation, of temperance, of evenness, of composure, of ease. That's why. Because of your nobility, because of your noblesse oblige, your noble obligation, you're not going to engage in those deceitful or harmful tactics in order to get ahead. That's why you're not doing it. Because this is your path. It is tied to you. Your reputation is tied to you. Your character is tied to you. And some of you may be saying, you know what, because I'm doing everything right and other people are cutting corners and they're not doing what they're supposed to do and they're breaking regulations and they're breaking all these rules. They're able to profit and I am suffering, right? There's a correlation between, sometimes if you cut corners and the amount of money that you're making, and sometimes you're like, oh man, my business is really suffering. And if I just cut a little corner here, I'll be able to really make it. I'll really be able to generate higher revenue. Right? I'll really be able to impress the board this time. I'll really be able to give back to my investors. But the thing is that if you take a little bit today, you're going to take a little more tomorrow. And the next day you'll take even more. And by the time you realize all that you've taken, it'll already be too much. It would have already consumed you because it doesn't stop. Right? You start cutting corners here, it magnifies, it amplifies. You begin to cover up, you create a trail of lies, you create a web of just obfuscation so that nobody can see through. And eventually it consumes you. It consumes you. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not a year from now, maybe not even 5 or a decade from now. But eventually it catches up. This teaching is about One, karma, and two, reciprocity. That is karma. It is reciprocity. And it doesn't mean that the bad guy always gets caught. That's not what this is about. It doesn't always mean that the bad guy gets punished. Because really, if you look at within all of our hearts, there is this element of, right, you can describe as good and bad, right? It cuts through our own minds. And so it's not about the good people getting ahead and the bad people getting punished. This is about how you choose to live, right? How you live matters. How you can go to sleep with a clear conscience. How you can go to sleep with a clear mind. How you can go to sleep with a light heart, because you know that you are operating in high moral excellence. That you're not here to rip anybody off. That you're not here to just get wealth at any cost. That you have a framework in which that you will operate in, right? That you're not going to try to go out there and oppress in order for you to move ahead. You're going to try to empower, and you're going to rise with it. That this is a more sustainable way to operate than just trying to scam your way to the top. So craving wealth, those lacking wisdom destroy themselves as well as others. I want to talk to you about the as well as others, because there is an impact. Your kids see how you operate. They see if you cheat. They see if you lie. They see if you coerce. They notice all those traits. And it imprints upon their own minds, their hearts, right? That this is okay, that this is acceptable behavior, that it's okay to bully, that it's okay to use anger to get what I want, right? It's okay to belittle, right? It's okay to deny other people their humanity, right? In order to get ahead, right? It's okay to just curse people out or call them out of their name or use slurs, right? We see it. It's cultural. It gets passed down generation to generation. And if you know that it causes you harm to be able to say certain things and you don't want your kids to do it, then you have to begin to cultivate a sense of high moral character within yourself, a high ethical framework within yourself, so that it doesn't get to that point, so that it doesn't get to that level. Because your actions, your greed not only destroys you, but it destroys the others. It destroys the people that you care about. It destroys the community. It destroys everyone who's impacted by your careless and reckless actions. And it says this: weeds are the ruin of fields. Ill will is the ruin of people. So offering to those free of ill will bear great fruit. Right? Greed, that craving, that is the weeds that ruins the field, that ruins our lives, that ruins our integrity. And you have to uproot those weeds, or else it will ruin you. Ill will. Greed can be a form of ill will, right? That you want to extend harm. It can be the ruin of people. So don't extend ill will. Don't try to extend harm towards others. Don't try to cheat and deceive and coerce. Operate from a place of virtue, of high ethical standards. You can invite wealth into your life and still do it in an ethical way. You can bring wealth into your life and not have to cheat and connive in order to get it. You can invite wealth into your life and still operate from a place of decency and good nature and being of high moral standards. You don't have to, you know, if you think about the Hippocratic oath that doctors have to take, first do no harm. That is one of these core principles in this teaching of mindfulness, ahimsa, not extending harm. When you're going for a professional degree, many courses, many graduate programs now require you to take an ethics course or series of ethics classes, because it's so important that you say, what are my limits? What are my boundaries? What can I not do? Where do I have to tell myself stop? Because this is something that we have to learn how to do for ourselves if we're pursuing wealth and pursuing income, is when do I say stop? Because many of us don't know. When we're in that place of obsession, it consumes us, right? We're just moving ahead, right? We're seeing the benefits of the success. Maybe you've cut a few corners, and maybe you see your income increasing and increasing, and the revenue keeps building and building and building, and all you want is more, right? Once you see the numbers building, you go, I just want more. I just have to have more, right? You're starting a startup. You got some initial seed funding in, and you're like, oh, yeah, I can finally start building my business. And you start building the startup, you start building your team, you start building the culture, you start building the product. And then you see your account start to dwindle, your runway goes down, you have to get more, right? You have to get more. And you're like, I have to do everything I can to just feed this startup. I have to do everything that I can to just move forward. And so maybe you start cutting corners, and you don't disclose what you're supposed to disclose, and you start hiding numbers that you don't want to hide, that you shouldn't be hiding, but that you do just because you need to get that investment in. And so we know how it happens, right? It's not necessarily people go out starting to say, listen, I'm going to be an unethical person. Listen, I'm just going to go around trying to cheat and steal and coerce my way into more money. That's usually not how people get into it. They usually get into it by circumstance, by situations, right? Oh man, I just really need to pay this bill, right? Oh man, I just really need to pay this bill. Let me just do something unethical in order to do it. Let me just take this, right? Let me just, right? It usually starts with something little. But the thing is that once you see it done once, it builds and it builds and it builds. It amplifies itself to where it has you so entangled, where you've told so many lies, where you've committed so many false actions that you are consumed, that you are trapped. And in order to preserve yourself, you begin to double down on the lies and double down on the cheating. It doesn't go away. And you keep doing everything you can to keep it all afloat until you can't, till it all comes tumbling down. So, if you are in a place today where you feel like, oh man, I've just cheated and I've lied and I've coerced and and I've done some things that just, I'm not so proud of. I'm not here to beat you up. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. But I am here to say that if you walk this mindful path, then you are called towards a virtuous life. And this is the point where you have to tell yourself, out of self-governance, out of self-regulation, I'm going to stop extending this harm. I'm going to stop committing these wrong actions. I'm going to stop because within my own heart I have been convicted. Not because someone else told me, but because within my own heart I know it to be true. It's resonating as true, right? That maybe I have to change my business model, but I'm not going to cheat, right? Maybe I have to try out a new way, right? Maybe I have to shift some members of my team around, but I'm not going to be deceptive. I'm not going to lie to my customers. I'm not going to steal from my investors in order to get ahead. And so this is how we operate in a high ethical framework. This is how we operate in a high moral standards, is by learning to say, this is where I stop. These are my boundaries. You have to create a container of safety. This is often what we do in our meditation practice. We create this container, we create this form, we give ourselves these rules. We say, this is how we operate. This is our system. This is our framework. And so you have to do that for your life. You have to say, this is my framework. This is where I'm willing to go and where I'm unwilling to not go. And then you have to have triggers in order to bring yourself back into balance. And so this is why we meditate, and this is why we gratitude journal, and this is why we practice Qigong, so that we trigger ourselves to reconnect with our core values, to reconnect with our teachings, to reconnect with our precepts, that we need to bring our lives into balance. We need to bring harmony into our lives, right? And so, wealth destroys those who lack in wisdom, but not those who seek the beyond. Friends, I want you to have wealth in your life, and I want you to be successful, and I want you to have multiple income streams, and I don't want you to have to worry about paying how you're going to pay your bills each month, and I don't want you to have to think about the possibility of foreclosure. I want you to have abundance, and I want you to have prosperity, and I want you to have new business, and I want you to have greater sales, and I want you to have more income streams and higher revenue. I want all that for you, but I also want you to obtain it in an ethical and moral way. As a matter of fact, I want you to have the high ethics and the high morality before the wealth. That way you can keep the wealth. That way the wealth is sustainable. And you're not just drinking it away or smoking it away or getting locked up because of how you acquired it. So friends, take a little bit of time every day to cultivate your inner life, to bring your life back into balance, to reconnect with your core values, so that as you do pursue your wealth in your career and as you do grow your business, you're doing it in an ethical way, a virtuous way. This is the key. Be the one who seeks the beyond, because you do not destroy yourself or others. Seek the beyond. Seek the Dharma. Seek prajna wisdom. Seek compassion. Seek ease and equanimity and moderation and temperance and self-governance and self-mastery. Seek that, so your success will be sustainable. All right, friends, that is the message for you today. I hope you receive it. I know for some of you, it can feel like, oh my gosh, this was a heavy, right? And listen, it's not a beat up session, but it is an empowerment one, in that you are now empowered, you are now awakened that, oh, I can cultivate this direction in my life of ethical guidance, that I can cultivate moral standards within my life, right? So it's time to meditate, and this is one of my favorite parts of our practice. It's this time where we hold a space for the deeper aspects of our lives, where we take that deep dive within. And I am going to unfurl my meditation cloth. If you have a meditation cloth, then I invite you to unfurl yours as well. Because it creates a space for us to practice. A container for our practice. And I'm going to take my journal with my goals and my desires that I have for my life, and I'm going to place it upon my altar, my space, my sacred space. And if you have your journal, I invite you to place it upon yours. And if you don't, you can just direct your attention and place yours right here. And now I am going to meditate over them, hold a space for it. Coming into an upright and comfortable seated position. Taking a deep breath in and releasing. There is a dream that has been placed within your heart. And the dream is the fuel that will enable you to meet it, to reach the destination. But how you go about arriving at that destination is what matters most. And so my meditation for you today is that you inhabit the highest ethical standards in your pursuit of wealth. That you don't have to con your way or scheme your way into getting wealth. That you use wisdom and the strength of your own ideas. That you use your creativity and ingenuity. That you use your insight and depth of being in order to create products and services that are beneficial to people all over the world, and they find value in it and they compensate you for it. I want, as you go after and pursue your wealth, you be able to sleep well at night, knowing that the service that you offer, the product that you offer, is from a good place. You're not cheating anyone. You're not lying to anyone. You're transparent. And that out of your honesty, new business flows. Your reputation increases. And that you use wisdom to navigate concerns. And that as the revenue grows, you don't have to try to use duplicitous tactics in order to keep it growing. That you maintain the honesty and the integrity that got you there to begin with. And if you grow from a place of honesty, you don't have to keep looking over your shoulders. This is my intention for you today. That the wealth increases as well as the wisdom. That the revenue increases as well as the diligence. That the profit increases as well as the purpose. That as you take a breath in, you remember your capacity to live a virtuous life. Whether the profits are in the red or in the black, whether the sheets are balancing or not, that you remember your ethics and that you make those hard decisions from a place of balance and ease, not from greed and obsession, and not trying to extend harm towards others, but empowering them. My intention is that you seek the beyond, the Dharma, this prajna wisdom of wisdom and compassion, that you awaken your heart to what is possible in life. This is my intention today. This is why I hold space for you today. As we prepare to transition out of our meditation, I invite you to seal this meditation with a deep breath in. Breathe. Receive insight and release. Nicely practiced, friends. Well done. Listen, if you have found this message to be encouraging to you, if you have found it to be empowering or motivating for you, then I invite you to become Cognoscenti and support our work. It is your generosity that enables us to continue to flourish, that enables us to continue to grow here at Flourishing Academy. We want to help others awaken to the mindful aspects of their life, but to also live a virtuous life, right? To also conduct themselves with high ethical standards, with high moral standards, not trying to cheat or deceive or coerce to get ahead, but saying that I can do it with honesty and integrity, that I can obtain my profits from a good place, from a place of strength. And so, friends, I always like to end with our affirmation. Say it with me. It is a statement of your nobility. I have value and I have worth because I am of noble birth. And with this breath, I will awaken to all that's possible within my life. I will lead and I will achieve. I will lead and I will achieve. Thank you, friends, for taking this time to practice with me. I hope that as you take this deep dive into mindfulness and to living a virtuous life, that you take moments every day to embody these teachings, to embody this practice, to make it a central part of your being. And that way, it creates these guardrails so that as you speed up in acquiring your wealth, and as you speed up in acquiring your income, and as you speed up in the profits begin to roll in quicker and quicker, you have these guardrails that are guiding you, that are pointing you towards an ethical center. Please take care of yourselves. Many deep bows of gratitude to you today for your practice. Namaste.